And that's it. Yeah, looks like I got a couple of people out there. Thanks so much for joining me. I am your charming host, Dave Nelson, with Industry Cooking. And we are getting ready to lay down a wonderful, wonderful interview. That's probably one of my favorite interviews so far. This guy was so interesting and just so passionate about everything he spoke about. I really, really enjoyed having him on. And so, yeah, I hope you guys are going to enjoy this too. I should say the old Industry Cooking show here is back after a 2-week hiatus, okay? And I have been out there on Fury Road, okay, driving around. I haven't been able to do any shows. I mean, I gotta say, between magnetic sandstorms and fire tornadoes, I mean, it seriously took a huge bite out of the bandwidth, and I have not been able to put out anything for a couple of weeks now. But so it's nice to kind of get back in my own little area here and fire up the old Industry Cooking show again. Okay, see Candy's out there. Thanks for jumping in, and Ms. Face out there as well. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Before we get started here, I do need to mention our kind sponsor, our local V. Miller Meats, a whole beast butcher shop right here in our fair city of Sacramento. They're out at 48th and Folsom Boulevard. If you stop on in there, mention Industry Cooking Channel for 15% off of one of the most natural and unique eating experiences around in town, okay? V. Miller features meats exclusively from natural ranches like Stemple Creek, Rancho Llano Seco, just beautiful, beautiful stuff. And for a limited time, friends of the show can mention Industry Cooking for 15% off at V. Miller Meats. So go down there and check them on out, okay? And so for now, as I said earlier, I interviewed Marvin-Lee Maldonado, okay? He is the entrepreneur, one of the brainchilds behind the Federalist. If you know the Federalist, it's a very unique destination restaurant in Sacramento. It's in one of the alleys, one of the first businesses that kind of sprung up in one of our alleys to kind of repurpose those local pieces of infrastructure that we have that we could be kind of utilizing. He also kind of broke new ground using the trailer style construction. I'm not sure if he was the first in town, but certainly one of the first. And it's a very, very unique experience over there. Another unique thing about the Federalist Public House is that one side of it is open. So here during COVID, they are very well positioned to do that outdoor dining that they've been doing every day since they opened up, okay? I interviewed this gentleman a few weeks ago, and as I said, I've been kind of out there on Fury Road. I haven't been able to really put anything out there of much bandwidth. So I have been really wanting to bring this to you. This is one of the best discussions that I have had since I have put the show together. This guy really, really is going to be talking about putting together a business, a labor of love from the ground up, and also developing the product within, right? Not just the building itself, but also what he's serving. The passion, as I said, of this guy is quite inspirational. I think anybody that is in the industry and anybody really that eats food, which means all of you folks, okay, you owe it to yourself to watch this one. This should work. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Industry Cooking Channel here. Today, I have Marvin-Lee Maldonado, and he is from the Federalist. There he is. Look at this guy. He's fired up. He's from the Federalist. If you don't know the Federalist, well, I could tell you all about it, but I would rather have Marvin-Lee tell us all about it, okay? So, Federalist is kind of unique. Marvin, if I may call you Marvin, can you tell us a little about it?
Yeah. So Marvin is good. Don't ever call me chef. I'm not a chef. So
right on.
You know, it's just not what I do. But so I'm trained as an architect. I built a couple of restaurants in town. Actually worked on a lot of projects for a lot of the big developers in town when I was in architecture and development. And we started Federalist as a project that would fit in our backyard. So we lived at the old Victorian in Midtown, right there on M Street. And it's a Federalist style Victorian. And the lot, you know, Midtown lots are 40 feet wide, 160 feet deep. So we had this big patch of grass back there, or my buddy did, because my buddy owned the property at the time. And he said, "Hey, can you build something back there?" And I said, "Well, let's figure it out." So Federalist, as we know it today, is the sixth version or sixth iteration of our plans, putting it together. So it was quite interesting. We got into plan check the same time the arena got into the plan check. So they kicked us out, and we got some, really, really anal third-party plan checker that threw the book at us. And so we had to change our business plan. We had to change a bunch of stuff going into Federalist about 3 or 4 times in the actual plan check cycle. But it's been a lot of fun since then. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm just picturing these shipping containers. Was it like you were playing with giant Legos back there during all of this? It wasn't that cool, was it?
I wish that's, everybody thinks it's like playing with Legos, but the first container we lifted off the ground, we got about 2.5 feet in the air, and the cable snapped. And it fell, and it made this thunderous noise, and it was the first container. We were just starting, and that made everybody on site leery. It was no longer about Legos. It was about coming off with all your arms and legs still intact. So it was after we got used to the dynamics of these things, as they're big 2,000-pound things, hanging in the air. They were actually quite fun to work with. They get extremely hot when they're just kind of a raw container. On a day like today where it's gorgeous outside and it's barely 80 degrees, the actual metal will be 132 degrees. So so building this thing in the summertime back in 2014 was a lot of fun. Lost a ton of weight doing it.
That's awesome. So you put together Federalist, and you took the name from the building where your restaurant is residing, in the backyard, okay? And so you kind of have a Federalist theme going on there, right? You took kind of this, all of these constitutional characters, and you built that into a theme for the place, huh?
Yeah. What was interesting was my wife's trained in interior design, and we both love art history and architecture history. And, we didn't even know this, but we stumbled upon it after trying to understand, there was a Federalist style. There was this small period in time, it was 20 or 30 years in the 1860s, that the Federalist style was kind of a thing. And you see it where it's gold adorned mirrors. It has these weird convex kind of oval or circular mirrors with the eagle on top. There's, it's typically kind of set up with that and 2 sconces that kind of, flank each side of it. It's very symmetrical. It's almost like a Nouveau Roman kind of thing, but with a little bit more American kind of twist to it.
Tying in all those elements to the design of your place and everything. And it's really a unique place. I mean, you are in a unique situation, I would think, because you just have one open wall. If people haven't seen this place, you've got this one open wall. So I believe you're able to have some limited dine-in at your place, right?
Yeah, I mean, technically, because of COVID. Okay, so before COVID, we were all outdoors all the time. So we lived in Southern California for about 10 or 12 years. And some of the best things about living in California is that you get to dine outside year round. I mean, it really doesn't get that cold here in Sacramento specifically. There's a couple of weeks where it gets, below 40, but other than that, it's above 50 degrees and it's below 98 degrees, other than this year with our, span of heat wave. Welcome to 2020. But prior to COVID, we understood and we embraced the fact that we were an outdoor restaurant. And since COVID, we have, again, re-embraced that. But what we learned, Dave, was that I think people were really confused by everything that was out there, because people call us and can we dine in your place? I go, yeah, we're completely outdoors. Come on in, hang out with us. We are completely socially distanced. We have all of our tables spread out. We got rid of the bocce court and put tables in there. That's now a dining space that allows us to get.
I hear about the bocce court.
But you know what? I mean, I got 4 tables in there now, and I can only have two to 4 people playing bocce. So if I do the math, that's 16 beers versus 4 beers, and I'll take that any day of the week, right? Especially right now during COVID. It's been fun. It's been fun is a loose term. It's been very interesting trying to pivot, as everybody's saying, and make sure that when we're following the rules, 2, that we're being safe, 3, that our staff is really buying into it, because at the end of the day, we can provide a restaurant atmosphere any day of the week, but it's our staff has to buy in to not only just the safety at the restaurant, but like the safety outside the restaurant, right? Like,
Absolutely.
It's kind of one of these things when we said, hey, we're going to be open. Let's all sit down and let's have a heart to heart. This is like one of those weird times in history where as like an owner, you sit down with your staff and go, hey, this is how we're going to approach this. And if you're not on board with this, then I don't have room for you, because if you're not on board with this, then you put all of us at risk. And we have a couple folks on our team that are actually high risk. They're in the high risk group, but they have to work. They're essential workers. And so we take it extremely seriously, both as a family and for our guests.
So I think what I'm hearing is you're having this heart to heart with them and talking to them about, high risk behaviors. Is that kind of the conversation you're having? Is like, if you're going to go out there and party your gourd out at mask free raves every night, it's just not going to work for us, right?
It's not going to work. And we have to, and it's more from the standpoint of, we have to be able to trust you with not only each other, but, with the way the rules are right now with, 3 people get COVID. So if 4 people are on a shift and one person has it, the other 3 are exposed, you're shut down.
Yeah,
right. And so there's no getting around that. And we, the optics around it are difficult to manage. The idea of having to shut down financially outside of that, I mean, forget, with the riot, with the fires that have happened and everything that was going on in Midtown and downtown with the folks who are coming through and kind of destroying buildings and stuff like that. I mean, all that aside, like having to close down again for another reason like that can be easily avoided for us is just for me as an owner and for me as part of the restaurant family, kind of careless. And, if it walks in the door, it walks in the door. We can't really prevent that. But what we can do as a staff for each other and for our guests is say, hey, look, when I go home, I'm going home and I'm following the rules to the best of my ability. And I'm going to think about everything that I'm doing every time I'm out there. And, that's all I can really ask for my staff right now is that, they take the things that we are doing at work and apply it to their daily life at home as well. So,
wow, this is a great conversation. I'm so glad you're bringing these points up. These are the things that we need to be talking about as a restaurant community, right?
Yeah, and I mean, totally. I mean, it's tough because we found early on, and for no other reason than like all the information that's out there is completely confusing, and you don't know up from down, left from right, and everybody's treating it differently. It's an interpretive. It's kind of, it was very subjective to like, oh, I can kind of tweak it this way and I can tweak it this way. So you go down the block and somebody else, has a completely different interpretation of the rules. Then you go down the block again and they have a completely different interpretation of the rules. And that ultimately leads to guests, you lose confidence in your guests because the guest is no longer happy, right? They walk in the door, oh, I got to have a mask, or oh, I got to do this, and oh, I got to do that. And it's like, if we were all on the same page, whatever that page was, then, I think all of our guests would feel more comfortable. They'd be happier because there'd be more consistency from place to place to place. And that's been really hard to come by. There's a lot of us talking on kind of social channels and direct messaging and stuff that are, we're taking similar approaches to it. But again, everybody still has different needs. Everybody has different sensitivities. And then there's the peer pressure of like what the guy next door is doing or what the woman next door is doing. And so, we're in an alley, so we kind of stand alone. So we kind of stay our course and we're able to do that. There's a little bit more, I think, kind of flexibility for us to be able to maintain such a hard line.
I was going to ask you about that alley. Does that work pretty well for curbside out there and everything? Is it pretty easy for cars to slide right through, or?
They can find us. I mean, we've been open 6 years and I still feel like people still have trouble finding us. It's really interesting. Early on it did work for curbside, and Remax is one of our neighbors, and they have a bunch of parking that's right outside our door. And they were super gracious and they let us use those spaces for guests. So we would, early on when it was COVID, like early COVID, we had three or four staff members, and we were literally running pizza out to like tables, and there was 6-foot lines out beyond the tables. And it was quite the interesting endeavor.
it's like you said, it's the pivot, and everyone is trying to figure it out. And what you were saying about how everyone is just trying different tweaks and everything, there is no consistency overall. I worry about a lot of things, but one of the things I worry is like, if we do have a big outbreak, everything goes back to square one. Everything gets like tossed up in the air and tied up again in knots, and we all got to figure out everything all over again. So it's like in any disaster situation, communication is key, and it's I understand it's tough for our health authorities. I mean, you know, how do they cover all of this at once and still do the job they were doing before? And it's just a big mess, right? And it just
I think it is from a bureaucratic perspective, but like if you distill it back down to the restaurant industry, I mean, we were doing all this before COVID. I mean, we were wiping tables, we were sanitizing things. There are little things that, like, for instance, that we had to do that was like, oh, we didn't know about that. There's a little thing we have to take care of. And oh, we did. So what we did early on was we shut down for like 3 or 4 days at the very beginning. And then I invited like my, 25 close personal friends. And I said, we're going to do another soft opening. And we're gonna figure out all the things with you guys, because they're gonna be very graceful for us, and they're gonna abide by all the rules, and they're gonna help us learn how to do this in COVID. And we did that, and we sat down and we took 4 pages of notes from that day, and we spent hours just kind of poring over it to make sure that we're covering every little thing. And then that worked, and it got us to a certain stage. And then once you allow the general public in that doesn't have the sensitivities that your friends have and family has, then you get to really see all the little things that you've left off the checklist, and you go, okay, we got to take care of that. We got to take care of that. Done. And then we created this great formula that allows our staff to deliver, really, really safe, secure, but also just normal restaurant service, right? Because that's what we all want when we go to a restaurant. We want that normalcy again. And we don't want people feeling like they're eating in a dentist office. We want people to feel like they're eating at Federalist and having a great time with it. So through good design and good hygiene and good safety practices and good food and beer, I mean, we're able to deliver that, especially during COVID.
Well, I got to say, it's very refreshing talking to you. It sounds like you're really on top of many of the concerns that I would have as a restaurant diner, right? So congratulations for being so proactive of things and on things and doing it early on, right? And taking input as well. I got to congratulate you, getting buy-in from not only your employees, but also those people that are coming in, all of your friends on that soft opening. Hey, they help you figure it out. They're going to be telling their friends, and it just grows from there. I just love it. So great stuff. Let's do a little pivot and talk about food. What kind of food do you have going on? Do you have any promotions going on these days?
So it is late September, so we are right in the middle of Oktoberfest. So talking about feeling normal again, we have the flags hanging up. We follow the German Oktoberfest, so it starts in September and ends in October. And the way we split the first half is a celebration with Sierra Nevada, and then the back half we partner up with a hyper local brewery. So the back half is Crooked Lane. So the first 8 days is Sierra Nevada, the last 8 days is Crooked Lane. And so that shift happens this weekend. But along with that, we go to V. Miller Meats and we buy up as much sausage as we can.
Our newest sponsor, by the way.
Look at that, right? Unintentional plug. Look at that. Yeah. You should have got me the hat. We could have coordinated that. So we go to V. Miller, we pick up a bunch of sausage and then we crumble it up. We put it on an Oktoberfest style pizza that has has our provolone mix. It has red rosemary potatoes, sauerkraut, whole grain mustard, green onions, and this amazing sausage that goes with it. And I mean, it is literally Oktoberfest in a slice. And you can see I'm holding it like this because I fold my pizza.
I hope everybody, let's just take a moment and savor that for a moment. Oktoberfest in a slice. Everybody hear that? Okay, we can move on now.
So yeah, so that's what we got going on right now. It feels good. We ran a local seasonal. We call them local seasonal specials, not necessarily farm to fork specials, but local and seasonal, because we don't really control some of these things, and we don't really know where some of these things are coming from, even when they're coming from really good vendors. So we call it local seasonal. So we try to stay local. We try to stay seasonal. That kind of approach. So we just ran out of our what we call the tomato party, which is big heirloom tomatoes, fresh mozzarella, pesto, amazing olive oil from Cordo, and a little bit of finishing salt and some balsamic. And that's like summertime in a pizza. And so what we really try to do is from a seasonal perspective is try to put a seasonal dish on a plate, and the plate happens to be edible because it's the crust, right?
Which I love.
Yeah. So you'll see like a Brussels sprouts in December, and it'll be like, we call it dolce vita. It's like hot honey and Brussels sprouts. We make a Brussels slaw, so we have like 3 different styles.
Brother, I gotta say, can I stop you for a minute? You do sound like a chef. Okay, so
I'm sorry. It's the architecture side of me that's like the creative like elements and balance and the challenge in that. So yeah.
Hey, let's get into that. You kind of mentioned that you had a process for like developing your pizzas down there. Can you kind of talk about some of the different styles you went through, deciding what you were going to be and all that?
I never made pizza in my life prior to 2014, 2013. I made a boboli at home, when I was a kid. And we've got some like take home crust. We made like pizza like that. But I never had started anything from scratch until like 2013. I picked up a book from Peter Reinhardt, The Bread Baker's Apprentice, and read that thing, from cover to cover, 8 or 9 times. I took it camping with me. And I was just like, I immersed myself in this idea of making Neapolitan pizza. So then it became this like obsession with like finding the best Neapolitan style pizza, or what we thought was the best Neapolitan pizza. And I met up with a friend of mine, Pio Bruich. You know him. He used to be the chef at Inotria and worked in the Bay Area. So I met with him in LA. He was doing a stint down in LA. I said, hey man, there's this pizzeria I want to try out. Can we meet there? I happen to be leaving and coming back to build Federalist. He happened to be there. He's like, let's go. So we met at this place called Soto. It's no longer open, and it closed before COVID. But this place in Soto had this like Lamborghini Ferrari oven. It was like Ferrari yellow. It was perfect. And you could see it. We had a seat by the door. I remember this. It's one of those things that's like embedded in your brain. And, yeah. And so the two of us sitting in the booth, and Patrick, our friend, is sitting here across from us at the table, and I could see the oven. And we're the first ones to order because we couldn't get reservations. So we went in at 5 o'clock. That's what we did. And we ordered margarita, because you got to order the margarita when you go anywhere that serves Neapolitan.
This is tomato, mozzarella, very simple slices. If you don't know.
That's it. It starts there. And then you can venture off and do all kinds of crazy stuff, but you got to start there. That's my rule. So we got there, we ordered the margarita, and I kid you not, Dave, they slid the margarita out of the oven. It was done. I could see it from my seat. And I got this waft of acid from the tomato. And I'm like, that's got to be our pizza, because nobody else in the restaurant was eating yet. Nobody else had ordered yet. And sure enough, that pizza came all the way. I watched it come all the way and land right in front of me. It took maybe 30 seconds to get to my table. And that bouquet of acid and creaminess, and it was like, wow, like that was it. It was the perfect amount of char. And so, we bit into it, and it was like, that's what we wanted to emulate.
That's the target.
Yeah. And that really set us on our journey to try to understand what that meant for us in Northern California, and what that meant for us as a wood-fired pizzeria that said we were making Neapolitan style pizza. And if you know Neapolitan style pizza to be, it's softer, it's got more char to it, it's soupier, it's a little bit wetter kind of pizza than we're typically used to in America. And I remember like introducing my family to it, and my boys are all, we have 3 boys. They were like, Dad, this is really good pizza.
But it's totally different from pizza they were probably used to.
Totally. Pizza that even I grew up with, right? I mean, that's not pizza that I grew up with.
Sure, yeah.
But we fell in love with like the approach to it, right? the rigor and the discipline it took to make the dough, and the time that it takes to develop that process, and then all the variables that go into making your oven 900 degrees and cooking it in 72 seconds and pulling it out like when it's ready. So
let's talk about that. Like, you've worked the pizza station in there. Like, how do you get the oven fired up? It takes a while to get that hot, doesn't it? Can you kind of talk about that?
It does. You know, and since COVID, I got to preface this with, since COVID, we no longer cook at 900 degrees. We can't cook at 900 degrees because the pizzas will die in the box.
Okay.
Because there's, you know, 80% of our business right now is takeout.
Right.
Which is crazy because, you know, 90% of our business before was all dine-in. So to do that kind of shift, we had to figure out how to make our product better, because honestly, like, you don't come to my restaurant to get pizza in a box and take it home. You come to my restaurant to sit down and have that pizza in front of you, have a beer, sit with a couple of friends. That's what you come to my restaurant for.
The wood-fired pizza experience, right? It's an experience. It's not just a to-go pizza.
It is. And you know, we've cooked New York style. We've cooked deep dish. We still cook a deep dish. We cook a Detroit style. We call it Midtown style because it's not exactly Detroit.
Compare the different styles for everybody, will you? Like, what's a New York look like for them?
So our New York, we bought a big 18-inch peel. We created a big 18-inch. We lowered the temperature of the oven extremely low to about 500 degrees. You know, and it's all wood fired. There's no gas assist, so it's just kind of feel and temperature and time and burning all the hair off your arm and trying to understand what that feels like. Yeah, exactly. And so we made that, and we learned how to make pizzas crispy, and then what to expect and how our wood reacted in the oven. You know, flame management was huge for us. And then, like, Neapolitan pizza burns at 900 degrees, so it's a softer, more pliable kind of thing. Now we're doing this kind of, we make this kind of hybrid pizza. We use the same dough that we've been using before, but we bake it at a bit lower temperature, and it cooks for a little bit longer, which now sets up this beautiful, crunchy crust and sets up the bottom so you can hold up the pizza. You don't get that Neapolitan kind of flop anymore. Yeah. I still fold it because I love to hear that crack when it, you know, kind of folds in half. And, you know, you kind of get that pizza taco thing going on, and you were in California. So
if I may say, this is the civilized way to eat pizza. Okay, let's just say that.
Yeah, it is. It totally is.
A knife and fork is what I'm saying.
So, you know, okay, Neapolitan pizza I've seen and I've eaten with a knife and fork, but Neapolitan pizza, you take it, you tuck the tip over and you fold it, and it's the portfolio. You eat it like that. That's how you're always supposed to fold your pizza. It's just how you do it. And New York style, when you fold the back, you get this diamond shape that's on the bottom that tells you that's a signature New York style crust. So there's all these little things that you know, we key off of, and we try to understand that, you know, we travel to New York or we travel to Italy, and we look at these different places that influence us, or we're looking for different things and different ideas. We're paying attention to those details because, you know, the devil is in the details when it comes to pizza. You know, for us, it's not just about, you know, everybody talks about salt, fat, acid, heat. You know, texture is such a huge part of pizza. And when people talk about crunchiness, it's like, well, that's a texture and that's a sound. And those are experiences that we are trying to get into every single pizza that we make.
So it sounds like you've been kind of messing with the doughs. Did you come up with a new formulation for the new to-go pizzas now? Have you kind of played with that, and you've got one that travels a little better now?
So you may or may not remember, we opened a new pizzeria in East Sac that lasted like just under a year. It didn't last very long. It was called the Neighborhood Pizzeria. And there we tried, we learned how to make, we learned on our wood-fired oven, but we perfected in our gas decks over there how to make this Detroit Sicilian hybrid pizza, but also taking that dough and making it stretching it into a round pizza, you know, a traditional style pizza. And a lot of the techniques that we learned there, we've now brought back to Federalist and have worked those into our process that allows us to make a product that works better during COVID. And you know, not only that, it allows us to do the Detroit style again, because we are baking at a lower temperature. and allows us to get that, seared edge around our pan and get that cheese crust and that ooey gooey pool and that thing that
We're talking about the square pizzas here, right?
we're talking about the square pizzas now. So yeah, we bake all of it. We do a brunch pizza during brunch. We put scrambled eggs on it. We put hollandaise on it. I mean, we have tried to figure out how to do so many different things with pizza because it's ubiquitous. It's so Italian American, but now it's so uniquely American that you can't go to any city in America really without finding a pizzeria there. And so we're just super excited. We love making pizza. It's a lot of fun.
I gotta say, I love your passion, dude. This has been great. I mean, we kind of covered everything I wanted to cover, but I'm gonna have to get down there and give you a holler. Like I said, we haven't really met, and I can't wait to run into you in real life out there.
You've got my connection now. Hit me up. I'll get you a table if you need a table. And yeah, absolutely. I typically cook on Friday nights and Saturday mornings. You'll find me on the oven station those days. So the pizza's the best on Friday night and Saturday morning. But no, our staff does a really good job.
Well, Marvin-Lee Maldonado, that was an awesome discussion. The Federalist is about the coolest little joint in town, and I'm really, really wishing you and all of our other restaurant brothers and sisters out there in Sacramento the best during these tough times.
Yeah, support our local restaurants. Get out there, get into Midtown, have a bite anywhere you can that's local. It's fantastic. We got a lot of friends out there that are struggling, us included. Just get on out there and support everybody. So thanks so much. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, t-shirts, gift cards, everything. Support the hell out of everybody. All right. Hey, Marvin-Lee, thanks so much. And we will catch you next time around. Take care, brother.
Yeah, we'll see you around.
We'll see you.
Yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed that. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dave Nelson, and I am your host for the Industry Cooking Show. And that was Marvin-Lee Maldonado from the Federalist Public House. Now that is, I didn't really get the address out there, but it's in between 20th and 21st Street, between Capitol and N. It's in the alley there, I believe. Oh gosh, I don't know the name of that. Matsui Alley. So go ahead and check that out. And you won't be disappointed. He's over there doing his wood-fired pizzas day in and day out over there, and it's great stuff. And you can do the indoor dining because it's always outdoor over there. They're really well set up for it, okay? Hope you enjoyed that one. Let's see. I want to remind you that I'm bringing it to you every Monday at 4 o'clock on Facebook Live. And this is going to happen until I get a real job, okay? Up until then, I'm just going to kind of hang out with you guys and talk about food, okay? Every industry cooking show brings decades of kitchen industry wisdom to you people. It is distilled into tasty, bite-sized nuggets that you just won't see on the other so-called food channels, okay? We are also bringing you exclusive Between Two Stoves interviews, just like today, with regional chefs, bakers, butchers, farmers, anybody that is out there on the front lines of our local food industry's struggle to survive during these times of COVID, okay? To watch live, you need to check out the Industry Cooking Community on Facebook. That's where I'm doing my live streams. You can go over there and join like-minded food people in food-related pursuits. It's a lot of fun. People are posting what they're making and sharing ideas with others, okay? If you want to watch any old time, I've got tons and tons of these videos over at YouTube, the Industry Cooking channel, okay? Go check that out right now. If you get over there, you get a free subscription, okay? So you can go over to the Industry Cooking channel on YouTube and subscribe for free for a limited time only. Also, for a limited time only, don't forget to mention Industry Cooking channel for 15% off of at the truly wonderful V. Miller Meats, your meaty world of pure imagination. I want you to always remember, ladies and gentlemen, to be true to your food. Don't forget that the party is always in the kitchen. Ladies and gentlemen, class is dismissed.